broadcasting around the world.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension.
Bob Charles.
Oh, yeah, you got the Bob Charles Show right here at www.kinetichifi.com.
In over 100 countries.
You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into...
Bob Charles.
The secret of the technology used in the crystal skulls has still not been unraveled.
Bob Charles.
Don't forget, it's our world. Start taking care of it. It's time to think for yourself.
Bob Charles.
Open your heart to reality and to all the misinformation you hear. Just say no.
Get your dose of the Bob Charles Show 7 times a week.
I want to thank all the women's for listening to KineticHiFi.com.
We love it!
I know you do, baby. I know you do.
We're bringing Charleston to the world. This is KineticHiFi.com.
The Bob Charles Show. Oh, yeah, it is Thursday on the Bob Charles Show. And we're right here on www.kinetichifi.com. Let me tell you a little bit about the guest that's coming up tonight. I'm telling you, I'm going to blow you guys right out of your chairs. Her name is Georgina Love. She's in Canada right now. She's an author. She's an astrologically perfect person. She does dowsing, synchronicity, numerology, reincarnation, counseling, and so much more. Just like it says. Heaven knows. She discovered her clairvoyance at the age of 3. She has studied the paranormal for over 30 years to understand her spiritual and paranormal experiences. Her latest discovery of HAARP's science and its effect on us and our Earth. Her book, it's out right now, and we're going to tell you how to get a copy of this book. Her book, Escape from Manhattan, a spiritual force protects her characters as the Manhattan family attempts to inform authorities of the pending September 11th attack on the Twin Towers in Manhattan. Their lives are in danger. Their lives are in danger. And they flee to where they are protected and guided to safety in Alberta, back in Canada. A creative non-fiction book that informs you of science and spiritual research from the fourth dimension. Georgia helps you realize that you are diving. You are a divine being. Her goal is to unite the spiritual and the scientific world. Make the two one. May I introduce to the world, to the countries, to everyone, Georgia Love. Hey, Georgia.
Thanks for having me. This is wonderful.
Oh, you having a good time so far?
Oh, yeah.
We were dancing over here. I don't know what you were doing over there.
Just looking out at a gorgeous acres and acres of snow-covered fir trees. Very lucky.
Oh, my goodness. It was 86 here.
I got 6-foot snowbanks.
Oops.
But it's just awesome altogether. We've got rabbits and squirrels and all kinds of wildlife here running around in my backyard, and I love it.
Wow.
I'm not a city girl, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. I mean, you got some cows and things up there. I mean, we could make milkshakes on the side. So
No cows, no cows.
no cows, fully.
Not in this backyard.
Anyway, anyhow, all right. Now let's get down to this. You're an author, astrology, dowsing, synchronicity, numerology, reincarnation. Come on, I mean, really? How do you pile all these into one person?
Well, I've been doing research for more than 40 years, and as each subject presented itself in my life, I started researching very avidly the subject and gaining experience and knowledge in those areas. At 3, I was given the gift of clairvoyance, or born with it, I don't know which, but I could see my uncle 300 miles away, dead in a snowbank, and I back then, you've got to realize there was no telephones, there was no TV, there was CBC with Mozart and Beethoven and, Hank Snow. Like, there was no way that I could have understood that my uncle was dead in the snowbank and to see it, except for seeing the odd dead cat, dog, or bird, right? So I told my mom about this, and a few days later the telegram came, and yes, he had died with a diabetic coma in a snowbank in Thomasburg, Ontario, of all places. So I don't know if that would ever mean anything to any of your listeners, but you never know. So,
well, that's like in a sense, it's like a feeling of remote viewing.
yes, that's exactly what it is. That's what the military call it. Psychics for years have been calling it clairvoyance.
Yeah.
Same thing. Very much the same thing. And then I did it again when I was 7, when his brother did the same thing, passed away with a diabetic coma in a snowbank. And again, the telegram came, and you have to appreciate my mother was Pentecostal, and so for me to be getting these visions was the devil's work. So I was subjected to the elders of the church trying to cast the demons out of me, and of course I shut right up. I didn't do any more of anything like that till I was 30. And I had a dream that my daughter was going to be born without any arm muscles, and I just woke up screaming because I already had a son 10 years earlier born without any stomach or bladder muscles. And you got to appreciate, I don't smoke, drink, or do drugs. I live a very clean life, and I'm not interested in any of that stuff. And I couldn't understand why I was being so punished by God, because that was my image of God in those days, that he was the great punisher, right? Anyway, she was born okay, but she ended up in the hospital a month later, or 3 weeks later, and dying with a hole in her heart. And across the room from me, in came this gorgeous woman, 5'11", tall, beautiful woman, model. She'd had twins. One was in Burnaby General doing fine, but the other one was across from my baby and myself, 2 pounds, no stomach or no arm muscles, and a hole in her heart. I, to this day, don't know whether spirit world warned me to get my act together and start eating better, and etc., or whether I just flash forwarded into the future. But it put me on a desire to learn about spiritual things, to figure out what really is going on behind the scenes of our material world. And it brought me back to life psychically and spiritually. I wanted answers to my big whys. And it didn't count that, I'd go to my minister and I'd say, why is this happening to me? And I'd get the retort, oh, you must have sinned. And that just didn't sit with me, because I lived a really clean life, right? And so I'm telling any of your viewers, if anybody's trying to tell you garbage like that, walk away. Okay?
Yeah, no, we talk about that all the time. I mean, everybody that sits on 2 legs has it in them for any type of anything from being intuitive to being clairvoyant to being anything they want to right now. It's our time.
Yes, and not to be afraid of it, because even if you can see into the future and you see horrific things coming, the great creator, whatever you call him, whether it's Jesus, God, whatever, they have a purpose for our life. Like, there is a reason behind the scenes that we don't understand, that we're going through, and to just love ourselves that much more that the spirit world figured we were strong enough to carry this load. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, but is everybody prepared to carry that load?
I don't know. I think that, we're given what we can handle. I really do.
I think there should be. Yeah. Let me ask you this, though, while you're there. Are you in the chat box right now?
I was trying to get in the chat. Oh, yeah, I am. Of course I am.
Yeah, okay.
But then I got standing up because I think much better standing up.
Oh, that's good. No problem. Hey, I can deal with that.
Let's take a peek.
Yeah, no problem. No, when they have questions and things like that, you can read the question and answer the question if somebody has it in. And the phone lines are open starting in about 20 minutes from now. So if you have any questions or anything else, then dial 843-300-1399. You can ask Georgia anything live right on the show. See, we're kind of cool. We do those things. But
I'm sitting right here. I can do it. I feel, I'm pumped.
Come on, we're gonna have a great time with this. Now, what we want to do is, or what you wanted to do is, and what I want to do is, and what I really want to do is sell some books here. But what the book itself, Escape from Manhattan. I mean, this is almost is it a fiction? Is it partly fiction? Is it something that somebody ever gave you the story, or is it a story you just wrote?
It's a creative nonfiction. I went through 90% of the things that are in the book. I've had to change the names, the locations, and the times, I use a pen name to protect myself and the people that were in this book. And it is very real.
So this is a factual book.
Yes. I mean, I have embellished a little bit some of the areas, but it is very real, and the stuff that you're going to read, it's not fiction, it's real. I was the coordinator of this nursing home. I witnessed all of the things that took place in this nursing home, and it really was a death house for very wealthy people in northern Alberta. And I swore that I would write about it. I tried to get the RCMP police here in Canada to do something about it, and because of huge money involved in this, could do nothing. But I thought, one day I'll write a book. I will vindicate these people's lives by doing that. So, of course, I wrote the book for women 30 to 90 or 100 because I wanted to give them an opportunity to learn what's happening in our world. And I chose the name Georgia Love because I wanted all those gals up there reading Harlequin romances to stretch their wings and read something. It's there's love story in here, there's adventure, all of that. In fact, there's 2 love stories in here. An adventure to help them grow, because if they don't have time to learn about computers or the internet, they're missing out on a lot of information they really need.
Well, there you go. That's a good thing.
Yeah, and Georgia Love, although I get teased for the name Love, I was hoping that these gals out there would buy my book and just learn a ton of information.
Now, let's go into a part of the book. Now, here's a family that tries to inform people that something's going to happen on September 11th. Tell us a little bit about that story. I mean, there was proof that a week before 9/11, there were people who had a strange feeling something was going to happen. They all had this weird feeling about them.
Well, when you realize that 100,000 population usually should have been in the World Trade Center that day, and there were only 8,000 instead of 100,000, that's a huge jump, right? And what this girl did, she was working in a fancy oil and gas lounge in Calgary, and she heard some people higher ups talking about what they were planning to do to the towers, and she recorded it an audio cassette, and she brought it immediately. She left that night when she heard it and went to New York from Calgary and took it to her rabbi and recorded this cassette over, and had the church, the rabbi, the synagogues, and everyone that she could find recording this information and leaving the cassettes everywhere, on the subway, on the buses, in the taxis. Like, they did an underground information suite because they wanted people to be safe that day, and it worked for them. They really did save, you might have say 92,000 people's lives.
Yeah, and that many people were not there at that time. As a matter of fact, the funny thing about it is, right across the street from the Twin Towers, I was supposed to be at a meeting at 8:00 that morning.
Wow.
So, I mean,
and you didn't show up either.
Yeah, no, they canceled. I forget what the meeting was. There was a part of the group that we were meeting with that had to go to Korea, and they were taking a plane out of a New York airport, and they couldn't make the plane and go to the meeting at the same time. So about 2 hours before the meeting, everybody got phone calls and said, "Don't go."
Wow.
Now,
I watched. Works.
Yeah, but I watched the whole thing from the Jersey side, where Kearney, New Jersey was. I watched the buildings fall down.
Yeah, 2.4 million tons of materials dustified, went poofed in less than 2 minutes. And there was nothing really to clean up except the paper on the sidewalks and around that. And do you know what? More than 1,000 people jumped to their death, right? And when they hit the ground, I don't know if you've seen this or not, they went splat like a tomato, and then they evaporated right there. Like it was like a scene out of Star Trek. And how can anybody figure that this wasn't weird, that there were no bodies to bury? Like, it's amazing. Like, that there hasn't been more talk of this. Like, I waited until 2010 because I didn't want to hurt people to write this book, because my incident in the nursing home happened in 2000. And it was very interesting. There was one lady there that supposedly had Alzheimer's or dementia, and she would circle for 10, 12 hours a day, my whole shift, and then other people, and she'd walk around this circle chanting 9/11 and the towers and the people, and she did this by the hour. And this was in the spring, the Easter of 2000, a year and a half virtually before this event. And so there were people that knew this was coming. And she had dementia, Alzheimer's. She just had to get it out of her system, right? And I talk about this woman and who she was, and that she was one of the scientists who had allowed her brain to be affected by this disease so that they could use HAARP and the healing blanket to heal her from her condition. And a different group of people came in, took over the HAARP where she was working, and just dropped her in this nursing home. And just incredible the story, how it unfolds.
That's really not a nice person. That's for sure. I mean, just dump you.
She was a wonderful person, and she had volunteered to be a guinea pig.
Oh.
To try and get this HAARP healing blanket to heal her. There is a healing blanket that Nikola Tesla designed and patented from the 30s that the HAARP people have, and they're hoarding it, and they're not letting people know that you lay in this blanket for 2 or 3 minutes, it heals you of cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's, like exposed to radiation, pulls it right out of your body. And this exists. The big shots, the 1%ers know about this.
Do you know where they actually had, and it's funny you should say that, because I was waiting for somebody on this show to actually come out and say about that blanket, because I did read about that.
It's real. It's real, and it should be using in Japan right now to heal all those people. And you know what? They have proved that the people getting on the planes up in the air, they are subjected to the same amount of radiation as what you would be if you were at the foot of those nuclear power plants in Japan that are not being contained. Mm-hmm. The same radiation. So every time you hop on a plane, you are putting yourself into serious radiation problems.
Sure, of course.
It's just so sad.
What I was going to say was that blanket that you're talking about. Let me give it to you so that everybody can kind of sort of get where I'm going with this. That blanket, all right, was the model, beknownst to anybody except whomever did the research on this. But there was a show out there, I'm sure you probably remember. It was called Stargate.
Yeah.
In that movie, there was a thing called a sarcophagus or something like that. It was a big thing, like a big coffin that people laid in and got better. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is where the idea for that thing coming from. It was something I remember reading that. It was just a little blurb that I had read, but yeah, there was something like that out, and that movie has the same. It's the same way of healing somebody as the blanket. The only thing is they couldn't, of course, on a movie like that, they couldn't come out with a blanket. They had to come out with something that was a little more grand.
The sad thing is, this thing is very economical to make. You wrap it around yourself, this blanket, for 3 to 4 minutes tops. Not only that, guess what? It turns back the aging process. You get younger every time you use it. Just imagine that dog you dearly love out there, you rich person out there, that you want to stay alive. Imagine keeping your dog that you preciously love alive for 40, 50 years. Is that enough to get you off your butt and do something?
Yep, exactly like the movie, and that's the movie that everybody watches all the time, and it goes in one ear and out the other.
I mean, it's beyond me. Why wouldn't people want a natural way to stay younger? I watched, oh God, it was so funny. On the weekend, I watched with my 6-year-old granddaughter the Smurfs, and it's called The Blue Moon. The people that put out in 2010. It was the most hysterical movie, but they got so many important points out in that thing about the facade that people go through to stay looking younger in the New York fashion world, right? And this creep, he zaps them with this, I don't know, radiation or some kind of thing from HAARP, anyway, handheld thing, right? And instantly this 70-year-old woman is 25 years old again. And I thought, it is so funny. This cartoon, if you can get to watch it with your children or your grandkids, there is so much in there to heal people from 9/11 because there's victory in that little cartoon. And, most people don't realize we think subconsciously at a 5, 6, 7-year-old level on our subconscious. We think like children. And so when you watch that cartoon, it heals the soul. It heals that child part of you. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yes, of course.
And that's why grandparents love the grandkids so much.
Well,
one of the main reasons is because you get to be a kid again. You get to go in and heal that child of yours that, you've just ignored for years and years.
Yeah. It's just another thing that nobody wants to talk about, and nobody will talk about, and everybody's going to turn around and say there's nothing that exists like that. We all know it does, but they will tell you it doesn't, and then they'll keep telling you it doesn't, and sooner or later somebody's going to believe somebody that it doesn't exist.
Well, let's turn it the other way. It does exist. Go and look at the patents that Nikola Tesla invented, that Westinghouse bought 2,000 of his patents. It's there, and they've been working on it, and they've got it perfected. It's there for us to use, and we just need to demand it as people. This is one more thing that we have to say, look, it's our birthright. It's our, we want it, and to just demand it. It's out there. I mean, if you can think about all the stuff they do in the medical field today, I mean, it just makes common sense that it's out there.
Oh, yeah. Tell me a little bit more about the Twin Towers and the HAARP.
Well, from what I've been researching now for 4 years, really strongly, about HAARP, and I believe that HAARP was the instrument used to bring down those towers. It wasn't the plane crashing into the top floor. I mean, that fuel burned up in 10 minutes. And it was later, wasn't it not, an hour later, that the buildings came down in 2 minutes. And they dustified. They just went poof. If you get a chance to go online, go look up Dr. Judy Wood and Where Did the Towers Go? Because she's made an incredible book there. And the other book that backs that is this whole website from a physicist, I believe, in England. And it's look for the information. Do you know the one I mean? It's all there. The information. I'm sorry, I don't have it in my fingertips.
There was, I think what you're talking about is the one where they talk about the exposure packets that were in the joints.
There was no exposure pack. It was done with radiation, resonance from HAARP. They didn't need any of that.
Well, no, one thing.
All they had to do is point it at anywhere, and it resonates and evaporates. Seriously.
You may be correct about that, but there had to be a way that they got it to fall straight down.
Resonance can do that.
But what I'm saying is, if you ever look at any of these movies that have guys building up or blowing up buildings, you'll see it on the news net once in a while. You'll see like a building, like a hotel in Las Vegas coming down. It comes down straight down. These guys specially
design bombs to go off in different sections of the building to make the building just weak enough where those parts are for the weight to push on the next level down as it comes down. So it goes straight down. But these guys, if they're off just a little bit, it tips.
Right.
And these are guys who are trained to do this. But the Twin Towers came straight down. How come?
Well, that's because it was not pancaking like you would have with that kind of a demolition. It was done all at once with resonance from HAARP. You know what really clued you in? When you watched those helicopters circling the buildings, and I kept thinking, where the hell, pardon me for saying that, where are the rescue ladders? I could not believe my eyes when I saw that video of those helicopters going around there, and what they were doing is setting off the resonance, the microwave resonance. And if you read Dr. Judy Wood's book, she's got a 911 call in there, which was recorded and is in print, of this poor victim in there talking about she's burning up from the inside out. She knows she's being microwaved. The more than 1,000 jumpers, they were pulling off their clothes. They were trying to cool off. And some were actually going poof in the air. They had been exposed to the resonance enough that they just went poof. And again, there was no pancaking. There was pancaking done with World Trade Center number 7. But I mean, the towers and the other buildings, you can see, just take the time to go on the internet and you will find this information and you will be so amazed in how it has been kept quiet all this time. I mean, I don't know what they did with Dr. Judy Wood, but she should be coast to coast, and just like she has done an incredible 500-page book here. And she's got pictures from FEMA and everywhere else that, the newspaper, photographers, all of these people. These are real pictures she's got in her book, and it's just amazing. I'm trying to find that other one that backs. Sorry, I should have had that right handy here for you. Okay, talk about something else while I look.
No. Well, what I was gonna say was that when they're talking about what's going on with actually vibrating or microwaving a building, what a lot of people don't know, and you please correct me if I'm incorrect. There are 17 HAARPs around the globe.
That is what I've been told. Now, I have not had the time or the money or any way to verify that, but it sounds to me like it's probably pretty real. I know Russia has one. I know England has one. I really believe 2 of them are in Canada. I know that there's 2 in Alaska. Like it's starting, I'm pretty sure China has got one. And, way back in the 70s, the Russian leader warned, that's the right word, warned the world that the weapons of mass destruction that they were playing with would be worse than any nuclear bomb. And he was so concerned for the future. I believe it was Khrushchev that said that he was in that. He said that in the 70s. He was so concerned.
Do you think in any way that those buildings, for some crazy reason, went into some kind of an interdimensional shift?
Now, I have been thinking about that because I've been reading the book called Beyond, of the same author that did the Crystal Skulls book, the Skull Talks or whatever. Yep. And I've been really, really wondering if maybe it has. But I don't think so. And the reason why I'm concerning that is, here's a thought for you. 1,000 plus jumpers, right? Now, the vehicles all around, in the parking lots, under the bridge, 1,400 vehicles spontaneously burst into flames. They were surrounded by paper from the towers going down. That was the only thing that survived, was the office paper. So there again, it proves what I'm talking about. Resonance. We all vibrate at different resonance levels. Paper, of course, is way lower vibrational level than a human being, or steel, or concrete, or anything like that, because all of that was pulverized. But the paper remained, and it did not ignite when the vehicles right beside them were burning full blaze. But doesn't that seem strange to you? The trees, the foliage on the trees were intact. But the car right beside had burst into flames. And part of me wonders if those souls that jumped or the souls that were microwaved in the buildings didn't try, because it takes some time to realize you're dead when you go that fast. It was just so unexpected, right? They didn't see it coming. At least most of them didn't see it coming anyway. And maybe they made their way spiritually to their vehicle, sat in their vehicle, and they ignited, because we're electrical beings. That is one thing my modern astrology that I research has taught me. We're electrical. And maybe just sitting in their vehicle burst those vehicles on fire. Because wouldn't that be the first place you'd want to go if you were trying to get out of a building that was collapsing to the safety of your vehicle?
You don't know me too well. I'd probably be walking right down the middle of Broadway as fast as I could get.
I'd be heading straight for my vehicle and driving home and getting home as fast as I could.
Oh, no, man. I tell you, really, seriously. I mean, I thought about it the next day. It was really, really funny. I did think about it the next day. What if I was there? Because the building that I was in, which was the German bank building, it was right across the street, where the office was that I was supposed to go to, that was in front of the building on I think it was the 3rd or 4th floor of that building, was gone. There was nothing but a big hole there.
Right.
So I was like, we're looking at this stuff. Our friends that had got to Korea, they called us by phone because they were probably one of the last planes that got off the runway. Their relatives who put them on the floor on the plane and that to go to Korea, they couldn't get home. They couldn't get back to Jersey because they closed all the bridges. They closed everything. So all the bridges and everything were closed. The woman whose husband was on the plane called me. I think I had the only cell phone that was working. It was an AT&T cell phone. And she called me up and she said, I'm over here. I can't get out of here. I can't go across the bridge or anything else. Have you heard from them? And they, believe it or not, her husband called me from the airplane. And he said, they were just taking off and they could see the buildings on fire.
Wow.
And the only reason why they even took off in the first place was the plane was literally moving down the runway when the first plane hit. So they were already committed to turn off, to take off. Now what they could have done was probably just made a circle net and come back in, but they kept going.
Wow.
And that was so weird. I mean, it was a weird day in New York. I mean, first of all, a lot of people don't understand because they weren't there. They see it all on TV, and it all looks like a theatrical, event on TV. But it really had to be there. Like the person that's in the office with me here, she was right there. I mean, she literally saw people covered with gray ash.
Right.
Walking by her. I mean, the air stunk. Everything was full of smoke and dust and everything else. That's how close she was to it.
Wow.
So if you're there and you actually saw it, then what you're saying and what you're actually bringing out in this conversation makes more sense because we saw it.
Wow.
What you're saying you're absolutely correct in that about a building like getting hot or cars burning and everything else. That really did happen. And what you're saying about the paper, yeah, there was paper raining all over the place coming out of that building.
And it just really can't help but make you wonder. The thing that really is interesting is that the announcement on all the radios and all the TVs was a canned announcement. It was prepared before this even happened. Because in any news story, you've got competition happening. You've got this newspaper, this radio station wanting to get her the better scoop of the whole event, right? This was all sent at the same time to all the radio stations, all the TV stations and newspapers. So someone to prepare that ahead of time, those people should be in jail for treason. Sorry. That's the only way I can see it.
Yeah, if they don't die first.
Yeah, probably they bump them off. Who knows?
I mean, but, you know why a lot of people don't listen to this? And I swear to you, Georgia, I am not kidding you. This has been going on forever and ever and ever. Nobody ever gets any answers through your research and a lot of other people's research, and that the truth is coming out in peace and peace and peace. It's all being put together. Someday somebody's going to write a book that's going to be unbelievable because they're going to stick everybody's books into one book, which is going to be really, really difficult to do. And at the same time, the like, for instance, we've just been watching a plane that disappeared. Okay? The plane just disappeared. Okay, so that's like, what, 19 days ago or 20 days ago? Something like that. Something like that. Don't you think that people are getting kind of like, bored of watching the same thing on the same channel over and over and over again? I think they're kind of washing that out. It's the same thing I think they're getting with the Twin Towers. It's been going on and on and on. People knew the truth all along. They've been saying it all along. And after a while, it gets to be so much the same thing over and over and over again. After a while, it's just second nature. It goes in one ear, out the other. Yeah, we heard that already. Because nobody has the guts to get up and do something about it.
I think that we're still, how can I say it? We don't know where to start. Like, where do you start? We don't have the power, I think, to make it happen. The reason why I brought this book to the attention of middle-aged women is that I totally believe that it's going to take spirit world's power, and spirit world is very powerful, to make the difference to turn this around. And I really believe it can be turned around. I believe that we can change the destiny of this planet that these people have got it geared towards. Like right now, people don't realize why you get such bad weather in the east, and in Newfoundland, and just Canada has had one horrible, horrible winter. They're using HAARP again with billion watts of laser energy attacking the ionosphere and directing it as they cut giant icebergs, because they are creating a year-round ocean route above northern Canada to ship ore from Frobisher Bay, the new mine that opened there, to China, or maybe to Alaska. Now, people don't realize that in the 80s, the Alaska University had a HAARP installation there, and they were going through 100 cars of coal, railway cars of coal, a day to keep that installation, that HAARP installation going.
Wow.
That was in the 80s. And that's when they were doing it for good, when they were trying to find a way to moderate, because it was made for good to begin with. They were wanting to moderate the weather over Africa or India, where you have months of no rain and they couldn't grow crops. They were trying to ease hurricanes, ease earthquakes, because HAARP is capable of doing all those positive things.
Well, sure, it can definitely vibrate right through the earth.
Yeah, it can calm down the volcano that may happen there at, I'm trying to, slips my mind, it's right in the near Calgary, it's that huge Yellowstone, right? It can calm down the volcano there so that we don't just totally, if that ever goes, we're in very big trouble, right?
Yeah.
All around the world. And they can use it to protect the planet. They can protect our planet from asteroids that might want to hit it. It is a powerful, powerful tool for good. Unfortunately, the people that are running it now are the black cabal, and they're using it for just horrible things.
You know,
and
they just reminded me on the chat box, and I don't know whether you're reading this or not, but I had brought up in one of the conversations that when Sandy hit New Jersey and New York, that was the big hurricane that was 1,000 miles across.
Exactly.
When it hit, it was headed, because it went right past us down here in South Carolina as it came across and across the United States, or up the water, actually. When it came through, it went out to sea, which it was supposed to, which normally hurricanes do that. They make a right-hand turn, they start going across the Atlantic Ocean. All of a sudden, it made a left-hand turn. Storms don't make left-hand turns. They just don't. The globe goes clockwise if it's spinning on an axis. It's going clockwise. So do the storms. The storms go, right across from left to right. But this stopped and made a left and went right into New York and New Jersey.
Wow.
I mean, the things like, see, when you talk about HAARP and that, I look at things like that and I have to say, I wonder. I mean, how could you not say, I wonder? I mean, storms, I don't care what model you look at or what radar you see it, they don't go backwards.
That's right.
Or they don't make reverse turns. It just don't
You know,
happen.
when I really became aware that something, I've got to go back a ways. In November of 2005, okay, I was doing a psychic fair. What they do in this one town in Alberta, they have at the Bay, it's a big department store, right, a huge department store, and they have a Christmas and an Easter celebration, and they invite all their good customers, and I'm sitting there with 30 people in front of me to do tarot readings for them, right, psychic readings for them, and this little girl sits down in front of me. She reminds me of when I was 19 years old, right, and she said, "Oh, I don't want to be here, but all my friends made me come and sit here to talk to you, so here I am." And I thought, oh, well, I was like that at 19, too. I was very Pentecostal, and I didn't want to know anything but just my Bible, right? Don't tell me anything more. I don't want to know. And which is so sad. Anyway, I asked her, where are you going for Christmas, right, trying to change the subject and relax her, and she said Thailand. Now, I am surrounded with abundance all around me. People buying beautiful presents. We have wine flowing, hors d'oeuvres, music. We even had little East Indian men in harem costumes dancing around. The farthest thing from my mind was anything negative. But all of a sudden, I get a vision of the tsunami at Thailand. Okay? And I can't share it with this girl. I'm representing this huge department store. She doesn't believe any of this stuff anyway. And so I kept quiet. But I was so, and to be honest, I didn't even believe the vision myself. I thought, where did that come from? Anyway, Boxing Day, it happened. And, to this day, I feel bad that I didn't warn her, but it wouldn't have made any sense to her. But this is the kind of thing that's been happening to me my whole entire life. And to deal with it is not fun. It's not something I get a joke out of, or it's horrific when it's happening to you if you're a reader to see something like that. And, I knew at that time that it wasn't natural what was happening. I felt like I had picked up on somebody in that department store that knew what was being planned with HAARP. I felt like later, and I looked around when I saw that, and I looked at all the people's faces in the room, and I thought, who did I pick up on? Because I was thinking, I'm picking up mental telepathy here. I'm being told this. This may be a vision, but maybe there's more to it, right? And so, when the HAARP came up and I started to see what HAARP was doing, like rainbow clouds. Have you heard of the rainbow clouds?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the sky, 10 minutes before every earthquake that has happened so far, Christchurch, China, Japan, with the tsunamis in both places, they saw rainbow clouds. In other words, it's a cloud, and within that cloud is a whole little rainbow, just in the cloud. And when you start seeing stuff like that, you've got to get, wherever you are, get to some safety, because we don't know when they're going to pull it again. And when you think of how brave those people were that went to those towers and went to that World Trade Center, that knew, some of them had a feeling every day that they went that something was going to happen. And the courage of those people to go in every day knowing that would be their last, oh my God, how can we turn away from those souls and not fight like crazy? We owe them. If we don't do anything else in our lives, we owe them to make a fuss, find out who was responsible for that. Don't you think?
And it's not just your voice, Georgia, that is saying that. There are voices all over the world that weren't even in New York, that never saw New York, that never saw it except in a newspaper. They want to know exactly the same thing. They want the same explanation, intelligently saying, hey, look, we screwed up.
Well, you know what is so weird? You know and I know, if my house burns down tomorrow and I've got insurance with my insurance company, I am demanded to build that building again. Can you tell me how Mr. Silverman, who put billions of dollars on the World Trade Center itself, billions, few weeks before the event for terrorism, and nothing has been built back there?
Well,
isn't that strange to you?
It looks like it took almost 13, 14 years to get something up. But, really, you're absolutely correct. I mean, anywhere in the world that a building needs to be built, especially Las Vegas, it can be done in a couple of months. But, for that to be sitting the way it was for so long, I mean, there's something going on there. There definitely is.
I know that they were trucking out years afterward the soil that was there and replacing it with fresh soil because the fumes wouldn't stop. That doesn't happen with normal explosives. Okay? Just doesn't. What was causing those fumes? Why aren't there scientists bashing their heads, staying up all hours of the night trying to figure out what those fumes are?
Yeah, exactly.
Because wherever that soil is, it's still fuming. Why aren't there some university students going to where they deposited that soil, getting that soil and analyzing it and finding out what the heck is it fuming from? I mean, this is pretty basic stuff.
Don't
you think?
What do you think about this one? I mean, and I wish, that an attorney somewhere from one country, from someplace, and that would contact Bob Charles Show at live.com. I would like to know, is it possible for an entire country of people that wanted to volunteer to put their signature on a class action lawsuit that could sue the government into telling everyone what really happened?
I want people in jail that did this.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, for like a universal, everybody that wants to get into a lawsuit that would sue the entire government.
I think that would be wonderful.
It's not that probably anybody would go to jail right away, but there would be something somewhere, somehow, in something like that would cause people to be awakened enough to start asking more questions.
I think that makes perfect sense, and I think we need more than one lawyer. I think we need a lawyer for all of the developing countries, one from Germany, one from England, one from Denmark or Holland, like a group of them that would come forward and say, this is enough, because I'll tell you why. These people, this black cabal, has got away with this. And my big concern from studying astrology the way I have, and it's not the stuff that you see in newspapers or fashion magazines. What I study is profound. It's calculus. It's very, very, very serious stuff. And what I find, things take place 7 years or 14 years. So my concern is, what is going to happen in 2015, September the 11th? That'll be 14 years.
That's 14 years, yeah.
And my concern is, this black cabal has got away with all of this totally. What stops them from the next attack? Now, listen up, everyone, and them doing it to the New York Stock Exchange. Because then you've got your perfect out that the economy all over the world goes into a mass depression. So if any of you out there are lawyers, if you've got one single brain working, for God's sakes, take this serious. Because it really should be taken serious.
Yeah,
I don't want my family, I don't want to go through a world depression, I don't want any of this, and I'm going to fight like crazy to make sure that at least someone realizes in time.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding when I was saying that. I mean, there has to be, what you actually need is you need one attorney, could be a judge, could be, somebody who's a senator or something like that is an attorney also. Somebody that has the guts to be the ringleader and bring all the other either countries or other attorneys into one, even if they have to go and form a firm to do just this one thing.
See, it's interesting because the black cabal, Obama, and his group want to have one world government, okay? And so we've got to talk to people like, people that don't want one world government, that have a pride in their country, like Russia, China, Japan, that are not interested one little bit in a one world government. Okay, those are the countries, Australia, they'll stand up. Those are the countries we need to approach to make the U.S. accountable for what they have done to 3,000 people. And the HAARP doesn't just stop there. That earthquake that hit Japan, the tsunami, that was HAARP too. And the fact that no one has concreted those towers, those nuclear power plants there, like they did in Russia when that nuclear power plant went, they concreted it, I think, within a week or something. They worked on it fast. This is 2 years later and more, counting. And nothing has been done to protect our Pacific Ocean, our environment, from this nuclear radiation that is pouring out continuously.
Yeah, it's really really funny the way. I mean, what you just said. I'm gonna just add something to that. Every single thing that you're talking about, if you really look behind it, look at the day after. Things happen, like insurances and all kinds of things for destruction and extra money and charities and all kinds of things. But let's look all the way down the bottom of that line, if you will. Every single thing that happens that's bad makes somebody money.
Exactly.
Every single thing. It doesn't matter what it is, how it is, or how many persons it hurts. It will make somebody money. So, if you follow, like I've said this for 2 years on the show, follow the money. If you follow the money, you'll find out who we're talking about or who we mean.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, people don't realize that nuclear radiation is pouring into all of the factories along the coast of China. We are then bringing over truckloads and shiploads full of that contaminated goods and putting them in Walmart and all the other stores where we're going happily to buy more nuclear radiated fabrics, materials, and putting them in our homes. There will come a time when your home will be so contaminated you don't dare live in it because of all the junk you gotta have. Now, you don't need to like me or not, but look in the mirror and realize what you're doing to your kids. You're killing them with junk that you don't need that's coming from the factories on the coast of China, because whenever the wind blows that way, and those poor people there are dying, and we're not even getting the news about that because they control the media. And that really makes me mad.
It's funny that you say that because, you got to wonder, right? All those people over there, and that they're dumping all that water into their water supply. So that means that those people are actually drinking that stuff.
They're dying. And they have the healing blanket to heal them, and they won't even give it to them. And they won't concrete the darn thing to stop it. Like, it's beyond me.
Yeah, we had somebody that asked for the call-in number, Net. They were going to call in. I did give the number on the chat box, but so far nobody called in. All right, come on, dial the number, 843-300-1399. You got, you only got a couple of minutes, so you better hurry up.
I guess they're scared of me. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm saying wake up before it's too late. That's all I'm trying to tell you there is wake up. Forget your next whatever you're doing to waste your time with. Please wake up. That's all I'm saying.
You also got to think about the other side of this, too, Annette. All right, you're trying to wake somebody up, Annette, and I applaud that. Believe me when I tell you, that's what this show is for. But the other side of that is we're trying to educate people. We're trying to make you think. Even if you never, ever, ever had a thought of what we're talking about tonight, here, something in what we're saying is going to rattle something upstairs. It's going to make one of those nuts and bolts and that, jostle around a little bit. And tomorrow, at breakfast, at the water hole or whatever else that you do at work, tomorrow you're going to say, I heard this on a show last night. I said that is going to be the thing that's going to awaken so many people just by that one little bitty thought in every head that listens to it.
Oh, I so pray and hope. I've been working for 4 years to get my book out there selling, and it's not an ego trip. There's so much information in this book. And the wonderful thing about my book is it shows how spirit world, your grandmother, your grandfather, your aunt, your uncle, your godmother, your godfather, whoever out there is in spirit world knows what's happening to our planet. And all you've got to do is say, Grandma, Joe, or whatever, we need your help in this situation. We need you. Like those, I don't know how many people were killed in that Japanese tsunami. Wasn't it 3,000 again?
Oh, yeah, it was another 3,000 or 4,000.
Those people are in spirit, too. And it's starting to accumulate all the people that are in spirit, and they have one mighty voice. And if we start talking directly to those spirits that have gone over and say, please come together, please help us, and please stop what is happening, I think it can happen. I have such confidence in spirit world. when I think about how many vehicles were overturned at on the World Trade Center, there were big vehicles just turned upside down. You know who I think did that? I think some of the crews of firemen, the first responders, when they realized what had happened, because don't forget, firemen are pretty smart. They're sitting in their little firehouses there, and they're reading books, and they're talking. They would have known immediately, and they have over in spirit world, someone that just passed over that was killed in a fire somewhere, right? That would be able to quickly bring them to their senses. And I think those vehicles that were overturned were those firemen, first responders that said, hey, we can do this. And they picked up those vehicles and they turned them upside down. And I think that has actually scared the living bejesus out of the people, the black cabal that did that, because they never believed in spirit world. Until that happened, those vehicles bursting spontaneously into fire, those vehicles being turned upside down, told those people that spirit world is alive and will retaliate. And I think that's why they kind of slowed down with what they were doing to New York. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm kind of hoping I'm right. But I do know there's a lot of people in spirit world who now know they're dead and know why. The greed.
Don't worry about that call.
Okay. Why wasn't somebody telling me?
No. Don't worry about
But
that.
doesn't that make sense? Like, I know spirit world is real. I've experienced them since I was 3 years old. And I do believe that in spirit world, they have power we can't even imagine. And if they get on the case to straighten out this black cabal and straighten out what's going on in the States, it'll be done. Seriously.
Let me ask you a quick question now. What do we look like as an astrologist? What would you say, or what do we look like in the next year?
Boy, oh boy, that is a really good question. I think it all depends on how much we want change. You know, are we able to get the information out there in time? Because I am really concerned with what's going on with HAARP. Really concerned. Because they're messing with they're messing with the Van Allen belt, okay, and the plasmasphere or ionosphere, and it's I'm trying to think of the word, pardon me. We're just teetering on 23.5 degrees of our Earth towards the sun. And it's with the Van Allen belt, remember that, and the speed. It's 20,000 miles an hour that the sun's winds come at us. Does that make sense? Comes at us, and it's just such a delicate balance. And with what HAARP is doing with the ionosphere, messing around with what they're doing, I'm really concerned that they're going to throw that off, and we're going to have the tilt of the world. Edgar Casey talked about it, and that is why I'm so adamant and trying so hard to get this information out there, that we really have to get those scientists, those people playing with HAARP, to realize they've got to stop before it's too late. Because, it's a very serious situation.
I think this is a situation that we got to talk about it more, obviously, but these are things that I want to bring on, Annette, from any of your groups or anybody's groups that are out there. Annette, we're gonna watch the blogs on Pyramid One Network, Annette, because it's going to be on there. We are going to have Georgia back in the future. We're going to plan a day that we can actually plan and get all the media and everything else, that all wrapped up to the point whereas people with questions and everything else can call in, and I'll provide as much information as I possibly can, even information about the book, which is already on the chat box. John in Australia already put that information on the chat box. So if you want to know where to go and for the book, it's there already. So just go over there. Georgia, really, it's incredible information. It's really, really good stuff. And it's about time people started hearing it.
Well, I think our future of our planet is that serious, really and truly. I want your listeners, at least the first 3 listeners, I will send a free PDF to the listeners so that they can read my book and they can forward it on to their loved ones that are skeptical, or forward it on to your grandma, or print it out so your grandma can read it so she can come up to speed, because it's going to be those older women going into spirit world that could make the difference.
So, in other words, what we're going to do is we're actually going to bone up the older people that are going to die, that are going to tell somebody on the other side, hey, let's gang up on these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. Whoa. Now,
the more you only get to take the knowledge you have when you go. Okay, that's all. You don't get to take your money. You don't get to take your glory or your credit. Your big fancy status in this world. You only get to take you and what you know. So the most important thing you can do is learn. And this book, if you've read the Celestine Prophecies, this is 10 times more powerful. I don't pull back on anything. You get the mother load. And I totally believe that our seniors, if they go over with the information, I got to share this quickly. Hitler gassed 6 million Jews with cyanide, right? If you talk to any auto body guy, cyanide was the greatest high going. They went into that industry so they could get high every day fixing cars. Check with people that know. So 6 million Jews, God bless them, went into heaven, blasted out of their skulls high as a kite. They all came back, and I'm part of that age group, all came back wanting to do drugs. Okay? Because they'd already found out this was cool. Well, we are now at the age that we're passing away again. But this time, let's face it, we're going to go with sober minds and clear minds. We'll try to stay away from the morphine and the painkillers, so you're really right on the money. And know that when you go, what you wanted to do when you were a young person, peace, the signal everywhere, you now have the power to do that. When you go over this time, you're not going to be stoned on cyanide or morphine. You're going with a clear mind, and you're going to be able to access spirit world, the fellows and the gals that died in 9/11, the dear souls that went, and the tsunami in Japan, the ones that went in Katrina, and you've got an army over there that we will bring peace to our world.
Well, there you go. Well,
I'm serious. It's not fiction, it's real.
We are going to say thank you very much. And to everybody that's out there that's listening in that tonight, thank you very much. I mean, you make the show, so, hey, that's good things. And yourself, Georgina, I mean, this is like Georgia. This is too good. It really, really is. I mean, the information that's here is fantastic. So thank you very much for being on the show. And that tonight, you're definitely going to come back, and we are definitely going to hit with a bang next time, a bigger bang. Put it that way. There is a bang already. And if I don't get a call, by the way, from a lawyer from somewhere, from either our country or another country, on Bob Charles' show at live.com, if I don't see an email, I'm gonna just believe that the legal people that are out there just don't care. That's the only thing I can possibly think of. I mean, we're all over the place. Our signal goes all over the place. People know about us all over the place. There's Facebook. There's people out there that are listening right now that can put on the Facebook, Bob said. You want to put Bob said? Go ahead, put Bob said. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. If we're going to do something, we the people have a chance right now to do something that everybody can do at the same time. So, back it up. Let me see it. Hit me with it. Let's go. Can I say it any better?
No, it's wonderful. Thank you for having me on your show.
Georgia, thank you very much. You are one heck of a nice lady.
Okay, I hope you think so. I wasn't too forceful.
Nah, not at all. All right, well, with that, of course, we're going to say goodnight. And don't forget, tomorrow night, Ned, we're going to have an awesome night. So just watch that blog and everything else, Ned. I tell you, it's going to be an awesome night tomorrow night, too. Meanwhile, to everybody that's out there, we're going to say goodnight. Do not forget, it's our world. Let's start taking care of it. It's time to think for yourself. Open your heart to reality. And to all the misinformation you hear, just say no. Time as we know it is changing. So let's change with time. Don't forget, you can write me or the show direct at bobcharlesshow@live.com. Or you can write direct to Pyramid One Network at live.com.
I definitely want to thank all the networks that are streaming their show and that tonight. Now, we've got 5 more that just came up out of the woodwork from somewhere. I don't know where they came from, but they asked, and I said, go ahead. We've got Knock Hard Radio in New York City. We got Bandit Radio FM. They're the best in the West. They do an excellent job, and everything goes all the way out to L.A., and L.A. writes me every morning. Mix Network, Mixing World, and the energy around the world. We also have some Canadian channels, which I'm keeping in a can till Sunday. So I'm going to give you all the names and all the places and all the times and all the days you can listen in Canada to those channels. Then we have Kinetic Hi-Fi Radio, the #1 informative and educative community station heard global in over 108 countries and South Carolina. All I can say to everybody that's out there is God bless y'all. Bob Charles,